Morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2025 to 2026 Fulbright Taiwan ETF and Teacher Trainer Program Online Informative section. And today we've invite our two current grantee to share their own experience to you. And then later, if you have any question, you can also ask them later. Before our session start, let's welcome our executive director, Dr. Randall Nadeau, to give us remarks.
Hello, thank you, Ali. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this information session about the Taiwan ETF and Advisor Program. Thank you for your interest. For a little bit of background, we have been participating with the Ministry of Education and local county governments to support English language education in Taiwan, starting 21 years ago, and then continuing to today to now in 15 cities and counties around Taiwan and 6 universities. We, about 4 years ago, expanded the program to include the ETF program. This English Teaching Fellowship has the intention of encouraging Americans to come to Taiwan to expand their own international experience and their professional interest in teaching English as a second language. So we welcome you to consider applying for this program. What we're going to introduce to you tonight is some of the special features and benefits of the program, what to expect of the program. And that will be done primarily by two of our current grantees. I'm sorry, a current grantee and one of our local coordinators. No, sorry, it is two of our grantees and our local coordinators. So what I want to highlight is two special features of this program. One is the support that you will have in Taiwan in two aspects. One is that in each city and county, we have one or two local coordinators who are part of our Fulbright Taiwan staff, and they work in partnership with you in communicating with the schools, helping you when you have emergencies or special needs. And the local staff are eager to support you and to work with you in expanding English language education in Taiwan. So that's one kind of support that we offer. The second is professional training in English language education, teaching of English as a second language. And that is with a team who are also Fulbright Taiwan grantees who are expert in teaching English as a second language with degrees in the field and extensive experience, both in Taiwan and abroad. We feel that this kind of support allows you to be more effective and to have a more enjoyable and impactful experience. So you'll learn more about that tonight, and hope that we can answer any questions you might have, and strongly encourage you to apply to the program. Taiwan is, the Taiwan government has placed a great emphasis on English language communication so that we can empower Taiwanese youth to be more globally competitive, to help Taiwan in expanding its global influence and impact, and to have an intercultural experience. I think you'll find Taiwan to be a very special place, a place that you will enjoy spending some time. So welcome, and let's carry on. Thank you, Ali.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nadeau. So now let's move in today's informative section, we will go ETF program first and then teacher trainer, which means advisor program later. So let's welcome ETF representative Coco Tamai.
Thanks, Allie. Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Great. Okay, so hello, everyone. My name is Coco. I'm the ETF representative, so a current grantee for this presentation session. And I'll just talk briefly about what the different grants are. So ETF, ETF Plus, and then EMI ETF, and why you should apply if you're on the fence. So a little bit about me, why I'm doing this presentation. This is my second year in Taiwan. So last year I was an ETA, so first year English teaching assistant in Kaohsiung City, the southern part of Taiwan. And right now I'm doing my EMI ETF grant at a university in Kaohsiung. So I've been in Kaohsiung for 2 years, and last year I was at an elementary school, and now I'm at the university level. I'm also a part of the e-board of Fulbright Lotus, which is the Asian American affinity group for Fulbright grantees. And I love bears. That's my only personality trait, as you can see. Great, next. So you might be wondering, what is an ETF? ETF stands for the English Teaching Flagship Award. And if you are a current ETA in Taiwan, that means that if you become an ETF, you can either stay at your same school or same site or change. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And this is determined through a placement survey that you'll get after you're offered the award. Being an ETF means that you can either co-teach with a local teacher, or you might be solo teaching a class. It depends sort of on the school that you're placed at. And there are also some community service opportunities and requirements. So to get you a little bit more involved in the community, there are a lot of opportunities, again, based on the city that you're placed in, to get involved with community engagement. And the options for sites are the same as the ETAs. So again, if you're a second year grantee, the ETF options are the same as the ones that you got to choose from. Okay, so what benefits would you get if you're an ETF? Great question. So your salary would be a 53,000 NTD stipend per month plus a settling in and out allowance. In my experience, this has been more than enough to have a wonderful time in Taiwan, truly. You have to do 3 reports per semester. So if you're a current ETA, that's less than you have to do now. Very exciting. You only have to attend 3 of the workshops per semester. So again, if you're a current grantee, that's a lot less than your current requirements. You have the opportunity to lead a remote service camp. So we have 2 camps in more remote areas of Taiwan every year. And if you're an ETF, you might have the opportunity to take a more leadership role in that. Who can be an ETF? Are you even qualified? So the list of potential requirements are quite long, so I'll let you read that. But essentially, if you're a current ETA or a current ETF, you are eligible to become an ETF next year. Feel free to take a picture of this if you want to read it later. But yes, if you meet any of these criteria, you are eligible to apply. And if you have one of these requirements or are passionate about teaching, we really encourage you to apply and take advantage of this experience. So now that we've covered ETF, what is ETF Plus? So it's essentially the same as ETF. Everything that I described before will apply, but your stipend is increased to 63,000 NTD a month. So a whole 10,000 NTD more every single month. But what do you need to get that extra plus at the end of your name? So the requirements are a little bit more extensive for ETF Plus. So you either need to fulfill A or B, also a little bit long. So I'll let you read that on your own. Again, please take a picture if you're not sure. But yes, so because the requirements are a little bit more extensive for ETF Plus, you need some sort of certification or more experience. The stipend is a little bit higher. But responsibility-wise, everything that I said for ETF will apply for ETF Plus. Okay, so I'll leave it a second here. Okay, next. So why should you consider doing ETF or ETF Plus? If you are not currently in the Fulbright program right now and you're thinking about coming to Taiwan for a Fulbright for the first time, I think the biggest benefit is definitely the chance to experience living or teaching in a new country and culture. Taiwanese education is so different from the American education system, and it's a wonderful opportunity to really get that experience, learn about a different education system, and really get to do that in a hands-on way. You also get a lot of support and professional development opportunities, as Dr. Nadeau mentioned before. So we have workshops throughout the semester where you learn about different types of teaching techniques. And from your local coordinator, you get a lot of support in terms of just living and surviving in Taiwan in a new place. Yes, and then you also have some observations. So you actually get to be observed by an advisor, and that's a really wonderful way I found to get some very specific and useful feedback on your teaching. And if you're currently an ETA, why might you want to stay a second year to be an ETF or ETF Plus? So one, you're already familiar with the program and the job. So I think I found that it was a lot easier to just hit the ground running my second year since there was a less of an adjustment period. And I also found out it was a new teaching experience. So I stayed in the same location, but I'm at a completely different school. I teach a completely different age of students, and I work with completely new coworkers. So it's a very different experience from my first year, even though I've already taught in Taiwan. And even if you do decide to stay at the same school, what I've heard from friends who have decided to stay at the same school for a second year is that things are still very different, whether that be from new students, a new co-teacher, or different things happening during the year. Your experience is going to be very different from your first to second year. So it's a chance to experience something new. And you also get to take on more responsibilities. So again, as a first year ETA, we all co-teach with a local teacher, but you might get more solo teaching opportunities now that you have more experience as an ETF. And based on all the professional development you received as an ETA, you have a chance to build upon that and not just, forget about it, and a chance to use what you learned and grow as an educator in your second year. And I also found that as a second year, you get to take on a little bit of an unofficial leadership role in your cohort. You've done this once, and everybody coming in sort of looks up to you as someone who sort of knows the ropes and can provide advice or help to them. And I found that that can be a really rewarding experience. Okay, the third type of grant. What is EMI? So EMI stands for English as a Medium of Instruction, and this is the specific one that I do. So EMI is considered a type of ETF or ETF Plus. So the full title is you're an EMI ETF or an EMI ETF Plus. Very long, I know. But EMIs have the job of supporting university students with English. So ETFs and ETF Pluses are at elementary schools or junior highs. EMIs are at the university level. Currently, we offer these sites, so you can either be in Taipei, Taoyuan, Tainan, or Kaohsiung, which is where I'm at for EMI. And our schedule is that we are at our school from 9 to 5 every day. And the responsibilities at our universities include consultation. So that just means one-on-one tutoring to help students prepare for English proficiency exams like the IELTS or TOEIC exam, just helping them with different English school assignments, or sometimes students will come just wanting to practice their spoken English, so we'll have conversation practice. We also do a lot of workshops. So these can be anything from American culture. So you can see we did a presentation about college life in the US on the bottom right, and sometimes they're more about English, so academic English topics. We also have English camps. So this year we had 2 English camps, one in the summer in Taipei and one in the winter in Kaohsiung. And for this, all of the EMIs in Taiwan collaborate to host a 3-day camp where we teach different English topics, both related to English and American culture. And it's a really fun way to collaborate with the rest of the EMIs and get to know students in a really in-depth way. So what benefits do you get as an EMI? So the stipend would be the same as ETF or ETF plus, again, because EMI is a type of ETF or ETF plus. You also have to do the 3 reports per semester. You have no workshops if you are an EMI, but we have some training that's built into our everyday schedule. And you, again, have the opportunity to lead a remote service camp. And we don't have the same community service requirements as ETFs and ETFs plus, because our university English camps are sort of counted as our community service. So who can be an EMI? Can that be you? So to be an EMI, you have to have completed an ETA or ETF or ETF plus grant in Taiwan before. So you have to have been in Taiwan with Fulbright for at least a year. And if you want the ETF plus stipend, you need to meet the ETF plus requirements that we talked about previously. So personally, why I did a second year, and maybe some things that you might want to think about. So my plan had never been to be a second year grantee. I always came into Fulbright thinking I'm one and done. And I even applied to law school and got in my first year. So I was supposed to leave. But I realized that toward the end of my first year that I really wanted to spend more than a year, like really getting to study Mandarin in a very immersive environment. And the idea of teaching at the university level was really interesting to me. I thought, I like the little kids, but I thought sometimes I wanted to do things that were maybe too high level for me to be able to do at the elementary schools that I was at. And I was also interested in just being able to get more involved with different opportunities that were available in Taiwan that I didn't really have the chance to do my first year just because I was adjusting to living in a new country, getting a new job, etc. And so I had a lot of uncertainty at first because, it had never been my plan. But ultimately, I decided to stay for a second year because my thought process was that law school will always be there. But when is the next time that I'm going to have the opportunity to live in Taiwan for a full year, So I ultimately stayed, obviously, and I really enjoyed it. No regrets. So highly encourage you to do so as well if that's something you're interested in. So how do you apply? Great question. So you need to write a statement of purpose. If you're applying for EMI specifically, then you want to tailor your statement for the EMI position specifically. A resume, an academic transcript, your diploma, a recommendation letter. It can be in English or Chinese, and it can be from your LET, your school principal, or your director if you're a ETA at the moment, but not your coordinator. And if you're applying for ETF plus, your license or certificate or whatever your qualification is for that. The timeline. So the most important thing is that this application is due in February 28th. So if you haven't started, please get on that. You'll hear back about if you have an interview or not. Not everyone gets interviewed, but if you do get an interview, March or April, and then you'll hear back about whether you are offered the position or not at some point in April. For EMI specifically, so in April, you'll get an email saying, congratulations, you've been selected to be an ETF, exciting. And you'll be asked to check, are you interested in being interviewed for the EMI position? So not all ETFs get interviewed, but if you want EMI, you will be interviewed. So if you say yes, you'll have a very short EMI interview. If no, great, you're an ETF. And then after your short EMI interview, you'll receive another email saying whether you've been chosen for EMI or not. And at this point, if you are not chosen for EMI, you can still be an ETF, don't worry. And then for EMI, after all of this, then you get your site ranking survey. So you'll be asked to rank the different cities that are offered. But again, you can only rank the cities, not the universities specifically. And then we found out our placement the summer before we came to Taiwan for EMI. If you're just doing ETF, you'll find out a little bit earlier because you don't have to do the whole interview process. Okay. Any questions? If you want to ask questions, please feel free to reach out to me. This is my line. If you have line, you can email me, or this is the Instagram that the Fulbright program at my university runs, which is also run by me, so you can DM me there and I will respond. But yes, happy to chat about EMI, staying in Taiwan, Kaohsiung, if you're interested in coming to Kaohsiung. So please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Coco. We will do the teacher training introduction first, and then do the Q&A section later. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask at the end of section. If you have any question, yeah, you can ask later. So let's welcome our advisor representative, Matt Gravity. Thank you. Matt?
Hi, give me 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay.
Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for attending, whether it's this morning in Taiwan or yesterday evening in the US. For us now, we're here in the future. And I'm going to talk today about 2 of our teacher trainer awards, which are our TEFL advisors, so teaching English as a foreign language. Those are the advisors for our elementary and junior high schools and the grantees we serve there, and also our EMI advisors, which Coco just mentioned, our English as a medium of instruction program. And so I'm going to get started now talking about our TEFL advisor program. So 1 second. Okay, so for our TEFL advisors, we are looking for qualified TEFL teachers or professors to serve in the role of academic advisors. And I'll talk a little bit more in detail about this, but basically what you do is you provide some of the great assistance that our executive director, Dr. Nadeau, mentioned, and that Coco also just mentioned. We are the people, part of the support team here at Fulbright Taiwan, that help make everybody's grant experience both more enjoyable and more impactful. So we serve the ETAs, which are our English teaching assistants, the English teaching flagship program, which Coco just introduced, as well as our local English teachers. And you can see that we really love acronyms here. So everything is ETA, ETF, LET, EMI. You're going to see a lot of this. So I'll do my best to give the long title. And if I slip into it, hopefully everyone knows what I'm talking about. So, sorry. So first to talk about the benefits of being a TEFL advisor here in Taiwan, and this is for both the EMI and TEFL programs. There's a monthly stipend, which is between 65,000 to 90,000 NTD, which is quite generous and is more than enough to live on in Taiwan and to live quite comfortably. There's also round-trip airfare provided at the beginning and end of the grant. So you get flown to Taiwan at the beginning and flown back. And when you arrive, you're offered a one-time settling in allowance of 36,000 NT. Beyond that, you also have access to Taiwan's national health insurance, which I can say is amazing. It's very affordable and it's very comprehensive. So that's really something that you don't have to worry about, and one of the huge benefits of living and working in Taiwan. As an advisor, which I'll get into later, you travel quite a bit. So we have locations all throughout Taiwan. We have grantees in many different cities and counties, and we also service some counties and cities in which we don't have grantees. So there's quite a lot of travel, and Fulbright will help reimburse transportation, trains, airfare, as well as accommodation, hotels when you are traveling for work. And beyond that, you get the opportunity just to travel around Taiwan and meet a ton of different people. And that's really one of the highlights of being an advisor, is the travel you get to do. And through the travel, the connections you get to make with local English teachers and our Fulbright grantees, along with our amazing staff of local coordinators as well. So the grant duration is 11 months. So it goes from August 1st to June 30th. And this is the same for all of our grants. The criteria in order to be eligible and qualify as a TEFL advisor, we're looking for people with a master's degree and TEFL teaching experience. So regardless of whether you're from Taiwan or the US, you can become an advisor. And we're looking for people who either are currently teaching or conducting research in the field of TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language in any country. And of course, there's an English requirement, so native speaker or fluent in English. If you have a PhD, you also qualify for the program if you're a Taiwanese or US citizen. And the difference here is kind of the word currently. So this is people who have been working in the field for 2 years or have held the position of assistant professor. So you can kind of see that the qualifications to become an advisor are a little bit higher than they are for the English teaching assistant or English teaching flagship programs. And the reason for that is that we provide the support and we engage in a lot of teaching activities for our grantees. So when you arrive in August as an advisor, you kind of hit the ground running, and it's all right because we have a great team that you work with. So upon arrival, you basically start working on some of our summer training activities. We provide insight training for our grantees. So depending on the city or the county in which they're located, we will travel there and provide training. And we also have joint site orientation in which every ETA or every ETF in Taiwan will gather at one location for basically a few days of training and orientation together. Beyond that, during the semester, we help out and we give and lead workshops. So generally, this number changes from semester to semester, but about 8 workshops per semester. And we kind of give workshops on a wide range of topics. Some of them are very common topics throughout Taiwan, co-teaching, classroom management, things that every new teacher needs to know about. But there's also a lot of flexibility to give workshops that you're personally interested in, topics that you're personally passionate about. I myself have given workshops on things like music, escape rooms, technology in the classroom, kind of anything that you're interested in, as long as it's useful for teachers in the TEFL field in Taiwan, you can propose as workshop topics. As Coco mentioned, we also have remote camps where we travel to different areas of Taiwan and serve the students of those areas by organizing English camps. Advisors support those. And we have another big conference which happens in January in the middle of the school year, just before our winter break, in which advisors organize training and facilitate discussions for our current grantees to kind of help them both up their training, but also reflect on the year to date and kind of think about what the rest of the year will look like. So these are the main teaching activities. And moving on, I'll kind of discuss some of the day-to-day and week-to-week support. And even if you're not considering becoming a TEFL advisor, I think this is worth thinking about because this is kind of a look at what the support looks like if you're thinking about maybe applying for the ETF program or applying to become even an ETA, ETF, whatever it might be in Taiwan. This is what your advisor would be helping you out with and what support you would get throughout the school year and semester. So as an advisor, we provide targeted support, and the number here is 14 to 16. Each year, the number of grantees you advise kind of changes. But what you do is you basically, each grantee will provide a reflective report every 3 weeks to a month, and you'll reply to those reports and you'll conduct consultations as needed, as well as teaching observations. So as a grantee, you'll be expected to reflect on your teaching and give examples and share how things have been going in both the classroom, at school, with your co-teacher, in life. And your advisor will provide feedback and give you consultations depending on what you write in your reports. Also, each advisor, you can see that the travel will start to add up here because each advisor will attend one class per semester and give feedback on the lesson. So this is a really fun thing that we get to do, which is to actually go into the classroom and see what teaching looks like and give feedback and kind of just help out and support our grantees on a personal level in their own class and school environment. Okay. As I mentioned, I'll be talking also about the EMI advisor program. So this is, I think, a really interesting field because Taiwan has a huge push right now to change the language of instruction in many universities from Mandarin Chinese to English to both help Taiwanese students be more competitive internationally and globally, but also to attract more foreign students and international students to Taiwan. So as an advisor for the English as a Medium of Instruction or EMI programs, you would be working with professors. So this is providing support to professors in an academic setting by designing teacher training programs, working with the EMI ETFs, of which Coco is one, and basically assisting with anything and everything involving EMI at the university level. And if you look at the bottom, EMI advisors also support the TEFL team. So it's important to note that as an EMI advisor, there is a little bit of overlap between the two programs. So you will be working with the elementary and junior high school programs a little bit, but your main focus will be at your own university. So the EMI advisor grant period, we have two different ones. It can either be 6 or 11 months. And if you're on a 6-month grant, that could either be the first semester, August 1st to January 30th, or it could be the second 6 months, which would be January 1st to June 30th, depending on your time and your home university, possibly. To qualify as an EMI advisor, we're looking for people with master's degrees and either English as a medium of instruction or international student teaching experience. And these are for US citizens who are native speakers and preferably would currently be teaching or conducting research in EMI or an international student program in any country, including Taiwan. So this has quite a broad acceptance for depending on your teaching situation. It could be anywhere in the world. If you have a PhD, again, you can qualify if you have relevant experience in the field of more than 2 years, or you hold the rank of assistant professor and are affiliated with a university that's recognized by Taiwan. Kind of to get into the day-to-day things, I'll kind of skip over this a little bit because this has more to do with the TEFL advisor program. And so as an EMI advisor, as I mentioned, you'll also be supporting our ETA and ETF grantees in their summer training. You'll be giving semester workshops, although the number of workshops is lower, usually between 3 and 4. You also have the opportunity to work with remote camps in some of our more underserved communities where we organize winter camps or English camps for them. And you support and participate in our mid-year conference, which is a great event in which every grantee from across Taiwan gathers and reflects on their year to date. Now, specifically for the EMI program, you'll be working with advisees, and these are mainly our EMI ETFs. So people like Coco. Coco will have an advisor who she works with, who they'll be in close contact with one another and kind of be bouncing ideas off one another and checking in regularly to see how things are going, which includes things like consultations, reports, although these might be a little bit different depending on who your advisees are. So there is a lot of flexibility in the role. And then beyond that, there are teaching observations which occur at the university level. So you get to enter a university classroom and see what EMI looks like in practice and work closely with a professor to provide support and feedback in their own EMI teaching. Okay. So that is kind of all of the details of both programs. And then I wanted to just share personally, I think one thing that's really amazing and interesting and cool about being an advisor in Taiwan is you get to travel a lot. So I kind of have a collage. I have a little project this year. I'm trying to take a selfie for each train or airplane or whatever mode of transportation I take. And I want to see how many I can collect by the end of the year. But as I mentioned, you are kind of busy giving workshops, observing classes, and just being part of the support team that makes our program unique and makes our grantees successful here in Taiwan. So advisors kind of crisscross the country and get to know all kinds of different people in all kinds of different contexts. And it can be really rewarding because you get to just meet new people, but also be exposed to new ideas, new teaching ideas. You can really have a great chance to impact a wide range of teachers. In your own teaching, you might be someone who impacts students, but in the position of advisors, you have a chance to reach students, a far greater number of students than you could ever reach on your own by reaching students through the people who you advise. So I give advice and consultations across a wide range of subjects, everything from things going on in people's personal lives to things going on in people's work lives to specific ideas for what do I do in my first grade class because I have a kid who won't sit down and keeps running around. So as an advisor, you kind of get to be exposed to and help out with a huge cross section of what our program here in Taiwan looks like. And besides that, as Coco kind of mentioned, you get to live and work in Taiwan, which is a huge plus in and of itself. You're living in a country that has a fantastic healthcare system. It has fantastic infrastructure. It's easy to get around to almost anywhere in the island. Food is delicious. People are incredibly friendly. The weather's great if you like warm weather, although it can get cold in wintertime too. But it's just a really unique experience to live in a foreign country and contribute to a country's education system that is really working hard to change the way education is in Taiwan. And in my experience, people are very receptive and open to any feedback and advice you give, and it's a really rewarding position. So I will turn it back to Ali now, and we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, and I hope people have questions. Feel free to ask anything and everything, and thank you everyone for your time.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So now if you have any question, feel free to use your microphone to ask, or you can type in the chat box.